The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing with our reviews of the player cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. This is part 1 of our look at the rogue cards in the box. We are going to discuss Disguise, Embezzled Treasure, Thieves Kit, and Thieves Kit Level 3. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone out there a happy holidays and a very happy new year. I am really looking forward to seeing what the Arkham Horror LCG holds in 2023. Before we get started, a quick reminder of how we rate cards here on The Whisper in Darkness. The best of the best get an Elder Sign, while the worst of the worst get an Auto Fail, and the cards in between get a +1, 0, or Elder Thing respectively. Cards that you build around or cards that are good in one particular deck get a Bless token, while cards that we believe are destined to end up on the list of taboos or are simply bad for the big game get a Curse token. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. The Arkham Horror LCG community is amazing, and these people have gone above and beyond to bring you content like these player card reviews. Speaking of amazing members of the community, PSZ Nix is the latest patron to embrace the darkness. Thank you very much for your tremendous support. It is greatly appreciated, and I hope that you have a fantastic 2023. If you would like to be amazing like PSZ Nix and support the channel's goals and see your name on this list, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. Special thanks to Coleman Rochidi for the amazing art that graces the channel, Nicole Fiscus for the Whisper in Darkness logo, and Nate Lost in Time and Space for the intro as well as the overlays. Thank you very much. I couldn't do it without you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to our review of the player cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. We are going to take a look at the rogue cards in this episode. How are you doing, Matastrophic? Have you had any contact with Nate?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
I heard some static on my radio the other day. It might have been some type of communication from Nate, but then my wife changed the dial, and
and you never got it back.
I never
right,
got it
'cause
back.
those things can get really fiddly. Yeah.
So
oh no,
he might have been in contact with me, but yeah, I'm afraid he may be still lost in time and space. He might even be on Yugoth and had his brain extracted and put into one of those canisters.
Oh, that would explain the radio. All right, we're gonna have to do something about this. We needed some like shred of evidence that he's on Yugoth before we can set out there.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
Tickets to Yugoth are expensive.
They are.
Yeah, and I'd be glad to go, but not without some evidence that he's there.
Yeah, and I'm not willing to put my own brain in a cylinder in order to make the trip. That seems to be
that's not a waiver I'm willing to
sign.
Yeah.
The common way. So
yeah,
we are still waiting for some sign that Nate will be returning from wherever he is. In the meantime, we are going to dig into these rogue cards. We're going to start off with Disguise. It is a 3-cost asset with an agility skill icon. The talent, trick, and illicit trait uses 4 supplies as an action. You can spend 1 supply, evade. You get +2 agility for this evasion attempt. If you succeed and the evaded enemy is non-elite, it does not ready during the next upkeep phase. I was struck reading this card that it has the same template as Grim Memoir in the Seeker class. Basically the same cost, same number of supplies, same sort of ability. You know, you spend an action, you get +2 agility in this case, whereas Grim Memoir was +2 intellect, and then if you succeed, you get a thing. Where Grim Memoir was a card, in this case you get to the enemy that you evaded does not ready during the next upkeep phase. So this is somewhat similar to paying 3 resources for 4 copies of Slip Away, which was released back in, I believe it was City of Archives. Now, Slip Away costs 2 resources. So you would be saving yourself some money. What do you think about this one?
When I look at disguise, I was actually comparing it to stealth. Stealth doesn't have any use limit, but that one you effectively get +2 on your evasion test, but you don't actually evade the thing. Stealth. So it sounds like what's really going on here with disguise is you're getting +2 on 4 evasion tests, and that's not bad. Like for 3 cost. The bit about succeeding in the evaded enemy being non-elite. Okay, you just have to succeed. That's nice. You don't have to succeed by 2. So that +2 that you're getting on the evasion attempt, you get to realize the full benefit of it because you're not trying to overshoot in order to get the extra effect. Okay. And how often? So the real question becomes, like, in your group, how important is it that things do not ready during the next upkeep phase? If you're like 3-player and only one of you can deal with enemies, and that's you playing disguise, that seems pretty good. If you're playing 4-player and like 2 of you are like guardians and rogues, like Tony Morgan and Mark Harrigan, that's going to be less important because you're going to crush all the enemies anyway, and you're just evading them just for a single round.
Yeah, I think when we talked about Grim Memoir, you were comparing it to basically like you're getting 4 copies of Perception in your hand. This is similar in that you're basically getting 4 copies of Manual Dexterity.
True.
With a slightly different benefit if you succeed. In this case, the non-elite enemy not readying rather than drawing a card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The 3 cost, again, this is the solo player coming out in me, but it's one of those, like, after I have played the other assets that I want on the table, whether, it's lockpicks or stuff like that and a gun, it's sort of like this is asset 4 and 5 that I would be happy to have, but as the game went on, I'd be less interested in actually taking the action to play it, even though I'm going to get some benefit. But evasion is pretty strong in solo. It's often better than actually having to slog through and kill an enemy or spend a ton of actions killing it when you can just evade it and be done with it.
Keep going. I think in a solo environment, the fact that the evaded enemy doesn't ready during the next upkeep is actually like kind of good, because if you're not able to evade and then leave the location, then you're kind of, that's great in solo.
Yeah, that's
because you don't have anybody else to lean on.
You evade it and then you can't leave because you need the clue or you need to do the thing at that location, and then you're kind of like, well, now I'm wasting 2 actions. This actually saves you that action on the next turn,
and it prevents you from getting dogpiled effectively. And like in my brief solo experiences, that's how you tend to lose in my experiences, is like you get dogpiled by like 2 enemies and then you just can't keep up with the number of evasions you need to make, and then this really solves that problem. So this sounds like a pretty decent solo card if you can afford to get it down on the board. At least one thing it is nice is it doesn't take up a slot, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is one of the significant differences between this and, say, Grim Memoir, where Grim Memoir is taking up a hand slot. This one's slotless, so it's not interfering with any of your other goodies on the table. It also has the illicit trait, which we will see is on a whole bunch of cards in this particular expansion, all leading up to Underworld Market, which is basically like building a Tony Morgan Insight deck for illicit cards.
Oh, gotcha.
So the illicit receives a lot of support in this particular expansion. How would you rate this one?
It seems okay. I think I'd give it a 0. Like, it's not like the greatest thing in the world, but it's not bad either. Okay, so if you're playing someone who has like 3 or 4 evasion and that +2 is really meaningful, then I think this is pretty good. If you're playing someone like Kamani and you already start with 5 agility and then you're already playing assets to go to 6 or 7, I don't think you need this.
I'm going to give it a 0 as well. I think that's a good spot for it. I think it's
Mhm.
in decks that need this type of effect. I think it's pretty good. You're, you might even. I know a lot of people. I know that you and Nate and I tend to play a lot of skills, and
Mhm.
if you are the type of player who doesn't want to play a lot of skills and is looking for room to sort of cut down, packing a copy of Disguise might help you
Oh, that's true.
in that
That's
respect.
true.
You can sort of
Yeah.
slim down your skill package a little bit because you've got, say, four plus twos sitting on the table. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's not bad. The next card we're going to take a look at is Embezzled Treasure. It's a 0-cost asset with a intellect skill icon, the item, and illicit trait. As a free triggered ability, you can exhaust Embezzled Treasure, move up to 2 resources from your resource pool to Embezzled Treasure to a maximum of 10 resources on it. As a forced effect, when you resign or the game ends, for every 2 resources on Embezzled Treasure, an investigator of your choice begins the next scenario of the campaign with 1 additional resource in their resource pool. So I have a question for you, Matastrophic. I don't have experience playing a big money deck, but when I saw this card, it sort of felt like after scenario 1, this is always in online.
Okay.
In the right big money deck, you will always be able to do this. And so, say in 4-player, everybody will be starting the game with 1 additional resource, and you'll get 2. Or, because this is non-unique, everybody starts with 2 resources, and you start with 4. Is this, am I going down the right alley on this one, or...
Yeah, you are. This this looks pretty cool, I gotta admit. It's such a wild effect that, it's kind of like victory points, but not really. I think that's really cool. It's definitely a new frontier for this game. Okay, so it costs 0 to put down. It's 1 action to put down, and it's basically a dead draw because it does nothing in, the current game. All you're doing is setting up for the next game. And it takes at least 5 turns at least to like get up to 10. Okay, so this is actually like a significant investment, right? Think like Delve Too Deep, which like also does nothing in the game you play it, except draw you more encounter cards. Yeah, this is kind of like Rogue Delve Too Deep. I think it's really interesting because you kind of create a snowball effect where every game you manage to like fire this off and build it up, you're going to start the next game at an advantage and also in a position to get this down and fire it off. I think there's a card that's coming up later, Underworld Market, which this slots like perfectly into because you don't want to draw this. This is like a terrible draw, right?
Yeah.
You want to have it when you need it, but you never want to draw it. So like I think that's where Underworld Market saves the day, which is kind of weird. So like you go to the market, you pay 1, and you get a treasure, but the treasure doesn't have anything because you got to spend more resources to open the treasure. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like you know what
Yeah,
this is. This is what investment should be.
for those
This is what
who aren't familiar with Underworld Market, I believe it's basically you search your deck for 9 cards with the illicit trait, or is it 10?
Oh, 10.
And then
Yeah.
you stack them, you set them aside, and
Yep.
then each turn you get to draw 2 and pick 1.
Yeah.
There might be a resource cost on that, but
There is.
so if you build an Underworld Market deck, you basically don't have to draw the illicit cards, which is
Exactly.
one of the things
Yeah.
that might actually slow this down, because you would have to draw the Embezzled Treasure, and then you
Yep.
need the 5 turns to embezzle the
Exactly.
treasure, which
So
would, if you draw
it's
this
kind
too
of bad.
late, then it's chances that you're going to be able to get enough resources on it to make a difference is slim. But with Underworld Market, you're going to draw this fairly quickly, I would think, if you put 2
Well, the
copies
key thing with Underworld
in
Market
the
is
market.
that okay, if Embezzled Treasure is in your deck and you draw it in upkeep, you have to take it. Like that's it. It blocked your draw for the turn. Kind of like Delve Too Deep. With Underworld Market, you have that other choice every turn. You say like, do I want embezzled treasure or do I want a 25 automatic? And based on the stage you are in the game, you can make that decision. And that's kind of I think that's kind of why this slot's in there, is because, if you're in a stage of the game where it's like, I don't need a gun, I'm ready to start embezzling some treasure, you draw your, you do your underworld market, you get your 25 automatic, you get your embezzled treasure. You go, I'll take embezzled treasure. So I got to spend a resource to put it in my hand, action to put it into play, 2 resources to load it up, and then you're getting started. So this is an interesting one. Oh, it's totally niche though, but it's kind of cool. I love how you can share the resources with your friends. That's really sweet.
Yeah, I guess my only
Yeah.
concern with this card is the snowball effect. Because say you play the first scenario, you're able to get the 10 resources. I'm talking multiplayer here. Mm-hmm. Next game, you're able to share those resources, which puts you in a better spot to successfully embezzle the treasure that game. And then, like I said, I don't see a situation in the right deck where this is just never on after the first scenario. You'll be able to just embezzle the treasure scenario after scenario, potentially get 2 of them down, and then you're just...
but once again, okay, in order to get 2 of them down and get 20 resources on them, by the way, your friends can't help you get those 20 resources. They all have to come from your pool. That's a lot of resources. So what's going on is, and because those resources are leaving your pool, they are not helping your well-connected. They're not, you can't use them on Lowell Santiago. You can't use them on Black Fan. Like, it's kind of a lot if you think about it.
Well, that's the reason I was asking, because I don't have a lot of experience playing a big money deck. So I don't know how much is too much. So while 1 embezzled treasure seems doable for one of those decks, I don't know if 20 resources is out of the realm of possibility. I think the only time I've really played a big money deck was... what was that? Was it the Skids? Parallel Skids scenario, where you end up having to earn tons and tons of resources.
But keep in mind, that one, don't you need to have those tons of resources at the end of the game?
Yeah, you're not.
So this,
those.
this is actually a problem, if you're trying to, because you have to overcap the scenario and spend resources above and beyond. Oh, and by the way, you got to pay your medical debts too, because you're Skids.
Right.
Yeah. So you're looking at 68 resources or something, something crazy like that. So I think my to really directly answer your question, I think this is I think getting this, you're shooting the moon when you're trying to do this, and that's not going to happen every time. I think you can getting 4 or 6 on there, I think is pretty reliable. But I don't expect to be getting all 20 resources on there every game. If you are, the campaign is way too easy. And you are not being challenged.
Yeah. So how would you rate this one?
Bless. I mean, oh my gosh, because it totally affects your deck building. You're gonna want a package, because you got to be able to spare all those resources. So you're looking at hot streaks, just to be able to afford this. I mean, you're not gonna this doesn't combo well with what was it called? The loan from Edge of the Earth.
Unscrupulous Loan.
Yeah, it doesn't combo with that, because with Unscrupulous Loan, you got to pay the resources back or it gets exiled, which you don't want to do. So this thing, like I said, I think this is a blessed token, because you've really gotta have the right kind of deck for this, and you've got to spend XP to get the thing online. This isn't something you can just slam into Jenny and expect to make work. So yeah, I think it's a bless. Yeah, because you got to really want it. I think it could be really cool, and I want to try it. I really want to try it.
Yeah, when I first read the card, I was leaning towards +1, but I think you're right. Blessed token is probably more appropriate for something like this, because you are going to need to have the infrastructure in your deck in order to generate enough resources to both pay for everything you want to pay for and then set yourself up for the next game with I do appreciate that they just didn't do Delve Too Deep Part 2 for Rogues, although I think we already had that with Let God Sort Them Out, I think was the card that is quite similar to Delve Too Deep. That's a Rogue version. But I mean, it's an interesting design. I think it opens up some new possibilities. But yeah, you're going to have to build around this to...
Yeah, and don't expect to get it to the full 10 every game. Like, that 10 is a lot over the course of 5 turns.
Yeah, and when I was tracking how long games lasted, 12 seemed to be about average. Some go longer, some go shorter, depending on the scenario, but 12 seemed about average. And if you need 5 turns to get this online, then you're going to need it early, and you're going to need to have enough resources in order to do that. And so there are some moving parts. It's certainly not like Delve Too Deep where you just slap it down and at the end of the game when everybody's resigned and everybody gets
exactly. You can't really
nothing.
cheese the timing on this because you got to wait 5 turns. One thing that is interesting though is that it's an item. So I think that opens some very specific things up, because then you can like find it with your backpack and set it aside until you need it. There's some stuff you can do at Bob Jenkins. You could scavenge it. Oh, then you can like dump it and then scavenge it when you need it, when you're ready to start embezzling treasure. Okay. Sell it off with Joey the Rat. That opens up more flexibility on how you use it and how you can like get it back from your discard pile and how you draw it and that sort of thing. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, and it is it's a free asset that, worst comes to worst, if a Crypt Chill's gonna totally wreck you.
I mean, it's not as good as Switchblade for dealing with
well, that's
true.
That's true.
But it's at least you have the option.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how I'd feel about spending, like, putting Embezzled treasure down and then being in one of those situations where it was like you have to discard an item. I mean, there are enough cards that attack your board state or assets and items and stuff like that I feel like if it was between the Embezzled treasure and say my weapon or something like that, then the Embezzled treasure hits the discard pile. But and then if you've stacked resources on it, well,
you're gonna feel bad.
Kiss those goodbye.
Yeah, but that's a next scenario problem.
That's true.
That's
true. You haven't really lost
scenario.
anything besides the action and whatever you've stacked on it this game.
Exactly.
So.
You got to survive the current scenario. You can't worry about the next scenario. Yeah.
So yeah, really interesting design here for Embezzled Treasure, and one of the cards I'm definitely looking forward to playing around with. Although I guess in solo, how many would I get? 2 resources? Or no, I get 5 if I could.
You can get a maximum of 5 if you can pull it off.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The next card we're going to take a look at is Thieves Kit. We're going to actually diverge a little bit. Normally we would talk about the upgrade for Thieves Kit during the XP cards, but we're going to look at both of them here at the same time. Thieves Kit, 3-cost asset with an intellect skill icon, item tool, and illicit trait. Uses 6 supplies. Spend 1 supply, investigate. You may use agility instead of intellect for this investigation. If you succeed, gain 1 resource. And Thieves Kit takes up a hand slot. Now, rogues have had a few different options in order to boost their investigate. There is, of course, Flashlight from the core set, which you reduce the shroud value of locations. There is both lockpicks level 0 and level 1. The level 1 version being far superior. I don't think I've actually ever played lockpicks 0 because they are just so incredibly fragile that having them break on you, I wouldn't say it's almost guaranteed when you're just starting off, in scenario 1, scenario 2, and you haven't upgraded them yet, but just the fact that the threat is there basically from as soon as you put them down, that's a risk I'm not really willing to take. And then rogues have had various other options to grab clues, like intel report and breaking and entering and things like that. So this one is let rogues use agility instead of intellect. Now, I went through the list of investigators, and it's actually, there aren't that many that really qualify for this, I'd say. Skids has higher agility than intellect. You've got a couple like Monterey Jack and Trish, where I think Monterey is a 5 and a 4. Trish is a 4 and a 4.
Correct.
Other investigators, obviously Kaimani from this box, I believe they are a 5 and 2, so using agility is obviously better for them. Safina was another one. I believe she's a 4 and a 2, so Thieves Kit would work well with her. And then the other one was Winifred, who is a 5 and a 2. And
then isn't Bob 4 agility, 3 intellect?
I think he's 4 intellect.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's the 4 intellect, right? Non-seeker. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So this is an interesting card because you're laying out 3 resources at the beginning, but you have the potential to double your investment as long as you are able to succeed on those investigate tests. Now, if you're using, say, Kaimani because they are in the box, investigating at 5 is very, very good.
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure if you're investigating with skids, whether 4 would be a slam dunk.
Yeah. So
the other obvious advantage of this card over some of the others is that it turns on all of those agility skills that rogues like but can't commit to skill tests.
Yes.
If you're investigating with intellect. I think the one that is often brought up is watch this, which you can't use on investigating.
Watch this.
Yeah, but here you can now commit watch this to investigate tests and reap even more resources. So what do you think about this one?
So when I look at this, I compare it to emergency cash, because emergency cash has effectively the same return, 3 resources for an action, but you get the 3 resources immediately and you can't fail at getting those 3 resources with emergency cash. So what this tells me is that if I'm playing Thieves Kit, it's not for the resources, because emergency cash just gets the job done as one action, no test necessary. So what I think Thieves Kit really is, it's more like what we were talking about with Disguise. Like, is that boost that you're getting from going to intellect important? Sorry, going away from intellect and into agility, like, is that meaningful? So that's why we're talking Kamani and Winifred, but probably that's about it. It's a pretty narrow card in that regard, because it does, like, you got to get a boost out of it to really make it worth spending 3 in a hand slot.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a significant boost. Like if you're playing
like 2 or
or
more,
Winifred, you're going. You'd be investigating with intellect 2 versus intellect or agility 5, which I think is very good.
You know how certain cards that show up in expansions are just like auto includes for the investigator in that expansion?
Yeah.
You know, like, I think this is Kamani's, because like, are you really going to be able to investigate at 2, like with 2? Like, it's not happening. You need something, and lockpicks is not in the box. That's in the Winifred pack, so they had to have something, and this is it. You also brought up flashlight. That's another interesting thing. Is like, flashlight is a guaranteed effective +2. It costs less. Yeah, you don't have, you get to use it as often, but if you want to get the clues. If you want to get the clues, then if you're someone like Skids, then Flashlight probably does a better job of it. That being said, if you are playing, say, a Skids deck and you're really all in on the agility, like those skill cards, like if you're running Manual Dexterities and you're running Nimbles and you're running Watch These, exclamation point. You know, if you're running those, then yeah, there's definitely a case for it. But I think this is really just about Kamani can get clues with this.
You know, it is interesting that they designed a card that sort of finds a niche without sort of stepping on what other cards do. Like if you're the playing in multiplayer and you're sort of expected to grab clues at low shroud locations, then something like flashlight probably works better for what you want to do. And then, of course, you can always step up to lockpicks level 1 once you gain some experience points, and then sort of lockpicks level 1 works better in that succeed by X deck where you just I need to succeed by a ton to trigger other effects, and lockpicks sort of guarantees that you can do that at least once per turn. Where this sort of fits into a deck where you spend the resources, you can get some of those back, and you get to investigate with your agility instead. How would you rate this one?
Okay, so I think this one is actually very narrow. So here's the thing. As you were saying earlier, lockpicks level 0, I really don't like it because it can break with 1 token pull. I really wish lockpicks level 0 had 1 charge on it that would let you get 1 break before it completely breaks, but alas, that is not the case. So what this means is that, like, I think 9 times out of 10, I would probably include Thieves Kit only as a stopgap because I'm waiting to go to lockpicks level 1. Because that's, like, if I want the clues, lockpicks level 1 is going to be pretty great. That's going to get it done. It costs the same. It has effectively infinite supplies. Yeah, it doesn't give me resources, but I can get like 7 and get up to like 7 or 8 or even more on the tests to get the clues. So what this means is this has a very it's a very niche case of I'm playing Kamani and I'm playing Winifred and I don't have any XP yet. So does that make it a bless? I'm not sure. Or does that make it an elder thing? I don't know. This is one of those weird ones because it's like very niche.
I think it's worth noting as well that while you do get to recoup your investment and possibly gain a few resources to boot, it is a little bit slow in that regard. It doesn't exhaust, so theoretically
nice.
You can drop this down, investigate 3 times, investigate twice after you play it, and then, or if you've got extra actions, 3 times in 1 turn, and basically recoup all your resources very quickly. But the fact that those resources are based on succeeding a test means that
reliable.
It's not reliable
because if you need resources, just play emergency cash.
Yeah, I was leaning towards 0 on this one.
Okay.
Simply because it fills a gap. You can play it in a couple of different investigators, I think, pretty well. Kamani and Winifred, possibly Safina if you're leaning heavily into Rogue. Who knows? There may be a couple. We may receive more investigators down the road who like this. I think it's solid. I don't think I would go as low as an elder thing for it, but it doesn't feel like a bless either because you're not really building around the card per se.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's just sort of, there aren't a lot of rogues and off-class rogues who can play this really effectively, I think is more the issue than the card itself.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those, it's like Flashlight where you have 0 XP, you got to have something in there to get clues. Then once you get XP, you have a lot more options.
I mean, the other investigator who might like it is Finn. Finn's a 4 and 4, but it does have the illicit trait, which means he can grab it with smuggled goods.
Yeah, it doesn't discard itself, so the recursion isn't there. But
yeah.
No, it's not. That's a rabbit hole. It's probably not worth going into because you don't really profit even if all 6 investigates land. You don't really profit because it takes so long, and you have emergency cash instead.
Yeah.
You can use Act of Desperation.
True, you can throw your thieves kit and hit them in the head, or stab them with those tweezers.
Pluck their eyeball out.
It's like, I'm gonna break my lockpicks on your face rather than in the door. So where are you gonna land? I'm gonna go 0.
I'm gonna land on Elder Thing.
You're gonna land on Elder Thing. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, another interesting card. I always find the rogue cards in whichever expansion seem to be very interesting designs, and this one finds a gap. I think that that lockpicks and flashlight and all the other cards don't really fit into. So, but if you like Thieves Kit, then you may want to consider Thieves Kit level 3. Basically the same card, adds an agility skill icon, which we sort of come to expect. This one you spend 1 supply, same number of supplies, 6 supplies. You get to spend 1 investigate. For this investigation, you may use agility instead of intellect, and you get +1 skill value. And then if you're successful, you gain a resource, 2 resources instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Is the upgrade worth the 3 XP?
I think it's worth 1 XP, but not 3. Yeah, because lockpicks are 1 XP. And then you end up investigating at an 8, or a 7 or 8 to like get things done. Yeah. I don't know. I don't. +1's not enough. I already wish the base Thieves Kit cost 2 instead of 3, and this doesn't reduce the cost. Okay, so you're gonna get you're gonna get 2 resources sometimes because you're not putting 2 stats into this. You're still putting only 1 stat. Okay, maybe I could be convinced that it's worth 2 XP, but not 3. Not 3. That's just too much. Might as well play hot streaks or something, and get that money.
Yeah, I feel like with this one, you have the potential to quadruple your investment if you can succeed by 2 reliably. The problem is that even if you're playing an investigator like Kamani, who is starting with 5, this bumps them to 6. If you're at 3 or 4 shroud locations, you're still going to have to commit skills and or resources to get high enough to succeed by 2 reliably.
Yeah.
Which I think for 3 XP, I shouldn't have to work that hard.
Exactly. Not at 3 XP. I feel like this is a 1 XP card.
Like to me, it just feels like, man, if I'm sitting at a 6, I'm gonna have to commit some skills to get to 7 or 8 to reliably succeed by 2.
Mm-hmm.
To get because I feel like you're really paying for the resources on this card. Like the 3 XP seems because of the resources. If it was just the skill value, then I'm sure it would be like 1 or 2 XP. But it feels like at 3, you're really paying for all those extra resources. So you're going to want to succeed by 2 in order to see the value of the XP you've pumped into this.
And at that point, I figure you have lockpicks, you have lucky cigarette cases, you have watch this. Oh yeah, watch this doesn't work on that, but like I see what it's going for. It's just too expensive. Yeah.
So how would you rate the level 3 version of Thieves Kit?
Auto fail. Just play lockpicks instead.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna join you at auto fail on this one.
Okay.
As much as I was willing to give it the base version a 0, I just don't see myself.
Yeah, there's a niche there.
3 XP for this one for what you're getting out of it. It just seems that's way too much. That's going to do it for part 1 of our look at the rogue cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Any final thoughts?
I'd say power-wise, not a very spicy bunch, but we did get Embezzled Treasure. That seems interesting.
Yeah, not. I mean, some like I said, some interesting card designs here. Disguise seems pretty solid for what it does. Embezzled Treasure stands out as being something innovative and new. Thieves Kit sort of fills a hole. Unfortunately, the level 3 version, I think, is just priced too high for what it is. But I guess it's a good start for the rogues.
It's It can only get better from here.
That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromlang@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromlang. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.